I walked into my childhood home 20 minutes late to find my siblings had already started without me. The dining room table was covered with legal documents, and Gemma was sliding a pen across the mahogany surface toward an empty chair. "There she is," Nathaniel said without looking up from his phone. "Finally! My name is Michaela, and at 38 I should have known better than to expect anything different from my family. But seeing those papers spread out like a trap still hit me like a slap. What's all this?" I asked, though the letterhead on the documents already told me everything I needed to know. Power of attorney, advanced directives. My father's name printed at the top of every page. "We've been discussing Dad's situation," Gemma said, her voice taking on that syrupy tone she used when she wanted something. "His diagnosis is getting worse, and someone needs to step up." I looked around the room. Dad sat hunched in his wheelchair at the head of the table, his once commanding presence reduced to a shell that flickered between confusion and cruel clarity. Nathaniel's wife, Marlo, perched uncomfortably on the edge of her chair, avoiding eye contact. Gemma's teenage daughter, Ellie, sat in the corner, earbuds in, but I caught her watching everything with sharp eyes. "Step up how?" I asked. "Someone needs to be his primary caregiver," Nathaniel said, finally putting his phone down. "Someone needs to move in here, handle his medical appointments, manage his medications, deal with the day-to-day stuff." The word "someone" hung in the air like smoke. We all knew who they meant. "And you've decided that someone is me." "Well," Gemma shifted in her seat, "you're the most available." Available, the family code word for single and therefore disposable. "I have a job, Gemma. I have a life." Nathaniel snorted. "What life? You work from home doing freelance marketing for small businesses. You can do that from anywhere." "Besides," Gemma added, "it's not like you have a husband or kids to worry about." There it was. The knife they always twisted when they needed me to fall in line. I'd heard variations of this speech my entire life. When Mom died and they needed someone to plan the funeral. When Dad had his first health scare and needed someone to coordinate his care. When family gatherings needed organising, when elderly relatives needed visiting, when any unpleasant family business needed handling. Always me, always the spinster sister who had nothing better to do. "I never agreed to this," I said. "The thing is," Nathaniel leaned forward, "Dad's condition is only going to get worse. He needs full-time care, and professional care is expensive, really expensive." "We're talking about preserving the family assets," Gemma said, "making sure there's something left for all of us when the time comes." I looked at the papers again. Power of attorney would give me legal control over Dad's finances, his medical decisions, everything. It was a massive responsibility they were trying to dump on me while they continued their comfortable lives. "What if I say no?" The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. "Then Dad goes into state care," Nathaniel said. "And you know what that means. They'll drain every penny he has. The house, his savings, everything. Gone." "Is that what you want?" Gemma asked. "To be responsible for destroying our family's legacy?" Our father chose that moment to speak, his voice cutting through the tension like broken glass. "Always knew you were selfish," he said, his eyes focusing on me with startling clarity. "Just like your mother. Never could count on either of you when it mattered." The words hit exactly where he intended. Even with dementia eating away at his mind, Dad still knew precisely how to wound me. I stared at those papers, at my siblings' expectant faces, at my father's cruel smile. The same dynamics that had played out my entire life. Them making decisions, me cleaning up the mess. Them taking credit, me taking blame. But something was different this time. Maybe it was the legal weight of those documents, or maybe I'd finally reached my breaking point. As I picked up the pen, a cold certainty settled in my chest. "Fine," I said, signing my name with deliberate strokes. "I'll take care of everything." Gemma smiled with relief. Nathaniel nodded approvingly. Dad settled back in his wheelchair, satisfied. None of them noticed the way I emphasized that last word. Everything. They had no idea what they'd just handed me. 3 days later, I was living in hell. The house smelled like old medicine and unwashed laundry. Dad's bedroom had become a maze of medical equipment, oxygen tanks, pill organisers, a hospital bed that dominated the space where Mum's antique dresser used to sit. I'd moved into my childhood bedroom, sleeping on the same twin bed I'd had in high school. "Where's my breakfast?" Dad's voice cracked like a whip from downstairs. I checked the clock. 5:47 a.m. He'd been up since 4, calling for me every 20 minutes. "Coming, Dad," I called back, pulling on yesterday's clothes. In the kitchen, I found him sitting at the table in his pyjamas, glaring at the empty placemat in front of him. "You're late," he said. "It's not even 6 in the morning." "I've been waiting." I started the coffee and pulled eggs from the refrigerator. My phone buzzed with a text from Gemma. "Hope everything's going well. Kids have soccer tournaments all weekend. You're amazing for doing this." Amazing. Right. "The eggs are cold," Dad said before I'd even finished cooking them. "They're still in the pan, Dad." "Don't talk back to me." I set the plate in front of him and watched him eat in silence. This was the man who used to terrify me as a child, who could clear a room with his temper. Now he struggled to hold his fork steady, but his capacity for cruelty remained razor sharp. My phone rang. Fatima's name flashed on the screen. "I need to take this," I told Dad. "Don't you walk away from me." I stepped into the hallway anyway. "How are you holding up?" Fatima asked. She'd been my best friend since we were 12, and now she was one of the few lawyers in town I trusted completely. "I'm drowning," I whispered. "Where are the golden children today?" "Nathaniel's at work. Gemma's at soccer tournaments. You know, important stuff. And you're playing nursemaid to the man who made your childhood miserable." "Fatima, I'm serious, Michaela. Do you understand what you signed? Power of attorney means you control everything. His finances, his property, his medical decisions, everything." I glanced back toward the kitchen, where Dad was banging his fork against his plate. "I know what I signed. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like your siblings just handed you the keys to the kingdom and you're using them to lock yourself in the dungeon." Before I could respond, Dad's voice boomed from the kitchen. "Michaela, get in here!" I found him standing next to his chair, his breakfast scattered across the floor. "I dropped it," he said, but his eyes held that familiar gleam of satisfaction. I grabbed paper towels and got on my hands and knees to clean up scrambled eggs and toast. Dad watched me work, saying nothing. The rest of the day followed the same pattern. Pills at 8, physical therapy exercises he refused to do, lunch he complained about, more pills at 2, a nap that lasted exactly 47 minutes before he woke up demanding to know where everyone was. "Where's Gemma?" he asked for the 5th time. "She's busy with her kids, Dad. She's a good daughter, always was." Not like some people. I was folding his laundry when my phone buzzed with a group text from Nathaniel. "Family vacation pics from Cabo. Wish you were here." The photos showed him and Marlo on a beach, drinks in hand, their kids building sandcastles. The timestamp showed they were sent in real time. I stared at the photos while Dad shouted from the living room about his evening medications being 2 minutes late. That night, after Dad was finally asleep, I called Fatima back. "I looked into the house," she said without preamble. "Do you know what it's worth?" "I haven't thought about it." "Well, you should. The property alone is worth 400,000. The house needs work, but in this market, you're looking at close to 600 total. I sat in the dark kitchen processing this information. "Fatima, hypothetically speaking, what could someone with power of attorney do with that kind of asset? Hypothetically, anything they wanted, as long as it was in the principal's best interest. Sell it, transfer it, manage it however they saw fit. And the family would have no say? None whatsoever. The power of attorney supersedes everything except a court order, and good luck getting one of those without proof of abuse or incompetence. I looked around the kitchen where I'd eaten countless silent dinners as a child, where Mum had tried to keep peace while Dad raged, where my siblings had made plans that never included me. "Thanks for the information," I said. "Michaela, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking it's time I stop being the family doormat." "Good, it's about damn time." After I hung up, I sat in the darkness for a long time, listening to the house settle around me. Upstairs, Dad snored peacefully, probably dreaming of the days when his word was law and his children scrambled to please him. Tomorrow, I decided, I would start making some calls. 2 weeks into my new life as Dad's full-time caregiver, I decided to test the waters. I sent a group text to Gemma and Nathaniel. "Need help this weekend. Dad has a doctor's appointment Friday and I haven't had a break in 14 days. Can one of you cover for a few hours?" Gemma's response came within minutes. "Oh, honey, I wish I could. Emma has dance recital rehearsals all weekend. You know how it is with kids." Nathaniel took longer. "Swamped at work. Big presentation Monday. Maybe next week." I stared at their responses while Dad yelled from the bathroom that he couldn't find his toothbrush. It was in his hand. "Coming, Dad," I called, then typed back. "So neither of you can help at all." "You're doing such a great job, though," Gemma replied. "Dad seems so much happier since you moved in." Happier? The man who'd thrown his lunch at me yesterday because the soup was too hot. Friday morning, I loaded Dad into my car for his appointment. The drive took 20 minutes, during which he asked, "Where are we going?" 11 times and accused me of kidnapping him twice. At the doctor's office, I helped him into a wheelchair, while he complained loudly that he could walk just fine. The other patients stared. "Mr. Stone," Dr. Martinez said when we were finally called back, "how are you feeling?" "Terrible. She's trying to poison me." Dad pointed at me. "I'm giving him his prescribed medications," I said calmly. Dr. Martinez nodded. He'd clearly dealt with dementia patients before. "And how are you holding up, Michaela?" "I'm managing." "Any help from other family members?" Dad perked up. "My other children are very busy, important jobs. Nathaniel runs a whole department. Gemma has her family to take care of." "I see. And what about respite care? Adult day programs?" "We're looking into options," I lied. After the appointment, I wheeled Dad to the car. He was quiet during the drive home, staring out the window with unusual focus. "You think you're so smart," he said suddenly. "What?" "Playing the martyr, making everyone feel sorry for you." "I'm not playing anything, Dad. I'm just taking care of you." "Your mother used to do that, play the victim. Look how that worked out for her." I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Mum had died of a heart attack at 59, worn down by years of walking on eggshells around Dad's temper. That evening my phone rang. Marlowe's name appeared on the screen. "Hi, Michaela. I hope I'm not bothering you." "Not at all." "What's up?" "I wanted to check on you. Nathaniel mentioned you asked for help with your dad." "Yeah, well, that didn't work out." Marlowe was quiet for a moment. "I know this is hard. What you're doing, it's not fair." "It's fine. I'm handling it." "No, it's not fine. I've been watching this family dynamic for 10 years, and it's not okay how they treat you." I almost dropped the phone. No one in the family had ever acknowledged this before. "Marlowe, Nathaniel's been talking about the house," she said quickly. "About what it'll be worth when, when the time comes." "Has he?" "He's already spending the money in his head. We have some financial issues and he's counting on that inheritance to fix everything." "What kind of issues?" "Credit cards, a business investment that went bad. We're behind on the kids' tuition." Her voice got smaller. "He doesn't know I'm telling you this." "Why are you telling me?" "Because someone should know the truth about why he's so eager to have you handle everything while staying out of the way himself." After she hung up, I sat in Dad's study, looking through his old files. The house deed was in a folder marked Important Documents. I photographed it with my phone. Then I found something else. A bank statement from an account I'd never seen before. The balance made me blink twice. My phone buzzed with a text from Ellie. "Aunt Michaela, are you okay? Mom said you're taking care of Grandpa all by yourself." I typed back, "I'm fine, sweetheart. How are you? I think what you're doing is really nice. Mom and Uncle Nathaniel just talk about money stuff when they mention Grandpa. It's gross." "What kind of money stuff?" "Like how much the house is worth and what they're going to do with it. I heard Uncle Nathaniel tell Dad he's already talked to a realtor." I stared at her message. Nathaniel had talked to a realtor about a house he didn't own, couldn't sell, and had no legal right to even discuss. "Thanks for telling me that, Ellie. Are you going to be okay living there? Grandpa seems really mean." "I'll be fine. Don't worry about me." "Okay, but Aunt Michaela, I think you're braver than any of them." I screenshot that message and saved it to my photos. The next morning, while Dad was still asleep, I called Fatima. "I need to ask you something," I said. "If someone with power of attorney discovered that the family was already making plans to sell property that wasn't theirs to sell, what would you call that?" "I'd call it a very big mistake on their part." "Good, because I think it's time to start making some plans of my own." Dad's bad days were getting worse, but his cruel days remained sharp as ever. "You're just like your mother," he snarled at me Tuesday morning when I brought his breakfast 2 minutes late. "Useless, no wonder no man ever wanted you." I set the tray down without responding. 3 weeks of this, and I'd learned that fighting back only made it worse. "Look at me when I'm talking to you." I met his eyes. They were clear today, which meant he knew exactly what he was saying. Gemma was always the pretty one. Smart too, married well. And Nathaniel, he's got drive, built something for himself. Dad picked up his fork with shaking hands. "But you're 40 years old, 38, and you've got nothing to show for it. No husband, no kids, no real career, just sitting around waiting for handouts." "I'm taking care of you, Dad, because you have to, because nobody else wants you." I walked out of the room before I said something I'd regret. In the hallway, I pulled out my phone and called Fatima. "Can you meet me today?" I asked. "I need to get out of this house. Coffee shop on Main Street. 1 hour." I arranged for a home health aide to stay with Dad for 3 hours. It cost me $200 I couldn't afford, but I needed to breathe. Fatima was already waiting when I arrived, a thick folder on the table in front of her. "You look like hell," she said. "Thanks, that's exactly what I needed to hear." "I'm serious, Michaela. When's the last time you slept through the night?" "I don't remember." I slumped into the chair across from her. "He wakes up every few hours. Sometimes he's confused and scared. Sometimes he's just mean. And your siblings. Nathaniel sent a fruit basket last week. Gemma calls every few days to ask how Dad is, then talks about her kids for 20 minutes. Fatima pushed the folder toward me. "I did some digging on your father's finances." I opened it to find bank statements, property records, and investment documents. "He's got more money than you think," Fatima said. "The checking account you've been using for his expenses, that's just one of 4 accounts. There's also a savings account with $60,000, a CD worth $40,000, and this." She pointed to a statement from an investment firm. $230,000 in stocks and bonds. I stared at the numbers. I had no idea. "There's more. I found records of a safe deposit box at First National, box number 247. "How did you find all this? Your power of attorney gives you access to everything. I just had to know where to look." Fatima leaned forward. "Michaela, your father is worth close to $1 million when you include the house." $1 million. I said it slowly, letting it sink in. "And your siblings have been planning how to spend it while you change his diapers and listen to his abuse." My phone buzzed. A text from Nathaniel. "How's the old man? Marlo and I are looking at vacation homes in Florida. Thinking ahead, you know?" I showed Fatima the message. Unbelievable, she said. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. What are my options? Legally, you can do whatever you think is in your father's best interest. Sell the house, move his assets, place him in professional care. The power of attorney is ironclad. And my siblings can't stop me, not unless they can prove you're acting against his interests or that you're incompetent. Good luck with that. I thought about Dad's words that morning, about a lifetime of being dismissed, overlooked, and treated like the family failure. I want to see that safe deposit box, I said. An hour later we stood in the vault at First National Bank. The manager, a nervous man named Phillips, checked my power of attorney documents 3 times before handing me the key. Box 247, he said. Take your time. Inside the narrow metal box, I found more than I'd expected. Stock certificates, old insurance policies, and a manila envelope marked Family Trust, 1987. What's this? I asked Fatima. She opened the envelope and whistled softly. Your father set up a trust when you were kids. Look at the beneficiaries. I read the document. The trust was supposed to provide for his children's education and future needs. But there was a problem. He never funded it, Fatima said. He set up the legal structure but never transferred any assets into it. Why would he do that? Control. He kept everything in his name so he could hold it over your heads. At the bottom of the box was a small leather journal. I opened it to find Dad's handwriting, entries dating back 20 years. Michaela asked for help with college tuition today, one entry read. Told her no, she needs to learn to work for what she wants. Another, Nathaniel's business is failing. He came asking for a loan, let him sweat for a while. And another, Gemma wants money for the kids' private school. These children need to understand that money doesn't grow on trees. Page after page of him documenting how he'd denied help to his children, how he'd enjoyed watching us struggle while sitting on a fortune. This is sick, I said. This is evidence, Fatima replied. Evidence that he's been manipulating all of you for decades. I closed the journal and looked at my friend. I want to set up a meeting with a real estate agent. For the house and Fatima, I want to look into care facilities, the best ones money can buy. What about your siblings? What about them? They made it clear they don't want to be involved in his care, so they won't be involved in the decisions either. Fatima smiled. Now you're thinking like someone with power. I'm thinking like someone who's tired of being treated like garbage by people who expect me to be grateful for the privilege. When do you want to start? Tomorrow? And, Fatima, let's keep this between us for now. Of course, but Michaela? Yeah? They're not going to like this. Good, it's about time they didn't get exactly what they wanted. The real estate agent arrived at 10 a.m. sharp. A polished woman named Sandra, who drove a BMW and wore heels that clicked authoritatively on the hardwood floors. Beautiful property, she said, walking through the living room with her tablet. Great bones. The location alone makes this very desirable. Dad was at his physical therapy appointment, giving me 2 hours of freedom to handle business. What are we looking at, value-wise? I asked. In this market? 600 minimum, possibly 7 if we stage it right. Sandra took photos of the crown moulding. How soon are you looking to list? Soon, very soon. Any family considerations I should know about? Sometimes these situations can get complicated. I have full power of attorney. The decision is mine alone. Sandra nodded approvingly. That makes things much simpler. I'll have a complete market analysis to you by tomorrow. After she left, I called Fatima. The house could go for 700,000, I told her. Jesus! And the care facility? I'm visiting Sunset Manor this afternoon. It's the best in the state. Full medical staff, memory care specialists, the works. Expensive, 8,000 a month, but Dad can afford it. What about the trust? I smiled. I meet with the estate attorney Friday. Everything's falling into place. That evening, Dad was unusually agitated. Someone was here today, he said over dinner. I could smell perfume. The physical therapist wears perfume, Dad. No, someone else, a stranger. His eyes narrowed. What are you up to? Nothing, just taking care of you. Don't lie to me. I raised you. I know when you're lying. My phone buzzed. Nathaniel calling. I need to take this, I said. Don't you walk away from me, I answered in the kitchen. Hi, Nathaniel. We need to talk, all of us, family meeting tomorrow night. About what? About Dad's care. About making sure everything's being handled properly. Everything is being handled properly. Marlo thinks you seem stressed. Maybe it's time to consider other options. What kind of options? Professional care. There are good facilities that specialize in this kind of thing. I almost laughed. You want to put Dad in a nursing home? Not a nursing home, a care facility. Somewhere with trained staff and proper equipment. And what happens to the house? Well, obviously it would need to be sold to pay for his care. There it was. They wanted Dad in the cheapest facility possible so they could pocket the difference when the house sold. I'll think about it, I said. Good. Tomorrow at 7. Don't be late this time. After I hung up, Dad was standing in the kitchen doorway. They want to put me away, he said. Dad! I heard you. They want to sell the house and dump me somewhere. For once his paranoia was actually accurate. Nobody's dumping you anywhere. Promise me, his voice cracked. Promise me you won't let them put me in some hellhole to die. I looked at this man who'd made my childhood miserable, who'd spent decades tearing me down, who just that morning called me worthless, and I felt something I hadn't expected. Pity. I promise, Dad, you won't end up in a hellhole. The next evening I walked into the family meeting with a folder under my arm. Gemma and Nathaniel were already seated at the dining room table. Marlo sat beside Nathaniel, looking uncomfortable. Dad was in his wheelchair at the head of the table, alert and suspicious. Thanks for coming, Nathaniel said. We wanted to discuss Dad's long-term care options. I'm listening, Gemma leaned forward. We've been researching facilities. There's a place called Valley View that has good reviews and reasonable rates. How reasonable? $3,000 a month, Nathaniel said. Very affordable. I'd looked up Valley View online. 1-star reviews, health department violations, and a waiting list for the morgue. And the house, I asked, would need to be sold, obviously, but the proceeds would cover his care for years. With plenty left over for the family, I added. Well, yes, eventually, when the time comes. I opened my folder and pulled out the market analysis Sandra had given me. Interesting. Because according to this, the house is worth $700,000. Nathaniel's eyes widened. 700? I thought maybe 450. And according to my research, quality memory care runs about $8,000 a month. 8,000? Gemma gasped. That's outrageous. That's what proper care costs, but here's the thing. I pulled out another document. Dad has enough liquid assets to cover quality care for 15 years without touching the house. The room went silent. What liquid assets? Nathaniel asked. The accounts you didn't know about, the investments, the safe deposit box. What safe deposit box? Gemma's voice rose. Box 247 at First National, full of very interesting documents. Dad was watching this exchange with growing amusement. How much money are we talking about? Nathaniel demanded. Enough, more than enough. But you can't just make these decisions unilaterally, Gemma said. We're family. We should discuss. Actually, I can. I pulled out the power of attorney document. This gives me complete authority over Dad's care and finances. Complete authority. Nathaniel stood up. Now wait just a minute. Sit down, son, Dad said quietly. Let your sister talk. I've already selected a care facility, I continued. Sunset Manor, the best in the state. Dad will have his own room, round-the-clock medical care, and all the dignity he deserves." "How much?" Marlowe asked quietly. $8,000 a month, which he can easily afford." "For how long?" Nathaniel's face was red. "For as long as necessary." "And the house?" I smiled. "The house stays in the family, for now." The silence stretched until Dad started laughing, a dry, wheezing sound that filled the room. "Looks like the smart one was right under your noses all along," he said. The moving truck arrived on a Tuesday morning. I'd arranged everything while Dad was sleeping, the transport to Sunset Manor, the cleaning crew, the storage unit for anything worth keeping. "You sure about this, honey?" asked Rita, the head nurse from the transport service. She was a kind woman with gentle hands who'd helped me get Dad ready. "I'm sure." Dad sat in his wheelchair by the front door, dressed in his best suit. He'd been unusually quiet all morning, watching me pack his belongings with sharp eyes. 37 years in this house," he said suddenly. "I know, Dad. Your mother loved this place, spent hours in that garden." I looked out at Mum's rose bushes, now overgrown and wild. "She did." "You're really going to sell it?" It wasn't a question. Somehow he knew. "Yes," he nodded slowly. "Good. This house has too many ghosts." The transport van pulled up outside. Rita squeezed my shoulder. "He'll be well taken care of," she said. "Sunset Manor is the best." I knelt beside Dad's wheelchair. "You're going to like it there. They have activities, good food, people to talk to." "Will you visit?" "Of course. Even after you sell the house and take the money." I met his eyes. "Even then." He reached out with a trembling hand and touched my cheek. For a moment he looked like the father I'd wanted him to be my whole life. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "Dad, I'm sorry for all of it. You deserved better." Then Rita was wheeling him toward the van, and the moment was gone. I stood in the empty driveway until the van disappeared around the corner. Then I went back inside and called Sandra. "List it today," I said. "I want it sold as quickly as possible." "Are you sure? We could wait for the spring market." "Today." By evening, the house was empty, except for my suitcase and laptop. I'd moved into a hotel downtown, claiming I needed time to process the transition. Really, I needed to be anywhere but in that house when my siblings found out what I'd done. My phone had been buzzing all day. Missed calls from Gemma, angry texts from Nathaniel. I'd ignored them all. At 8 p.m. I finally answered when Gemma called. "Where are you?" she demanded. "I drove by the house and there's a for sale sign in the yard." "I'm at a hotel." "A hotel? What the hell is going on, Michaela?" "Dad's been moved to Sunset Manor. The house is being sold. I thought you'd be happy. You both wanted him in professional care." "Not that kind of care. Do you have any idea how much that place costs?" $8,000 a month. $8,000! Are you insane? That'll burn through his money in no time. Actually, it won't. Dad has more assets than you realized. How much more? Enough. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. The line went quiet. Then, "Nathaniel wants to meet. Tonight." "I'm busy." "Michaela, you can't just make these decisions without consulting us. We're family." "Family? Right. Where was family when I was changing Dad's diapers and listening to his abuse for a month?" "That's not fair." "Fair? You want to talk about fair? You and Nathaniel dumped Dad on me and disappeared. Now you're upset because I'm actually taking care of him properly, by bankrupting him, by giving him the care he deserves instead of warehousing him in some hellhole so you can inherit more money." Gemma's voice turned cold. "Meet us at the house tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. "The house is sold, Gemma." "What?" "I accepted an offer this afternoon. Cash buyer, quick closing. We'll be done in 2 weeks." The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. "You can't do this," she finally said. "I already did. We'll fight you. We'll get lawyers." "Good luck with that. I have power of attorney and Dad's best interests at heart. What do you have?" "We have rights." "No, you don't. You gave up your rights when you handed me those papers and walked away." After I hung up, I sat on the hotel bed and stared at my phone. 3 missed calls from Nathaniel, 2 from Marlo, and 1 text from Ellie. "Aunt Michaela, my mum is freaking out. Are you okay?" I texted back, "I'm fine, sweetheart. Don't worry about the grown-up drama. Is it true you sold Grandpa's house?" "Yes." "Good. That place always felt sad." I smiled and put my phone on silent. The next morning I met with Fatima and the estate attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia, who specialised in elder law. "The trust is ready," Patricia said, sliding documents across her desk. "Irrevocable, as requested. Once you sign these, the assets transfer permanently. And my siblings can't challenge it. They can try, but they'd have to prove you acted against your father's interests. Given that you've placed him in premium care and established a charitable foundation in the family name, that would be virtually impossible." I picked up the pen. "What happens after I sign?" "The house sale proceeds, minus care costs, go into the trust. The trust funds the scholarship program you've outlined. Your siblings get nothing, but your father gets the best possible care for the rest of his life. And if they try to interfere," Fatima smiled grimly, "let them try. We'll be ready." I signed my name with steady hands. "There's no going back from this," Patricia warned. "I know. Your family will never forgive you. They never forgave me anyway. At least now I have a reason." That evening I drove to the house one last time. Gemma and Nathaniel were waiting in the driveway, their faces hard with anger. I got out of my car with a thick manila envelope in my hands. "We need to talk," Nathaniel said. "Yes," I agreed. "We do." We stood in the empty living room, our voices echoing off the bare walls. Gemma's face was blotchy from crying. Nathaniel paced like a caged animal. Marlo sat on the floor with her back against the wall, looking defeated. "Start talking," Nathaniel demanded. "What the hell have you done?" I set the manila envelope on the mantelpiece. "I did exactly what you asked me to do. I took care of Dad. By spending all his money, by making sure he gets proper care instead of being dumped in some warehouse to die." "Valley View isn't a warehouse," Gemma said. "It's a perfectly adequate facility. Have you been there? Have you seen the rooms, the staff turnover, the health department violations? It has good reviews. It has 1-star reviews and a lawsuit pending for neglect." Nathaniel stopped pacing. "How do you know all this?" "Because unlike you, I actually researched what was best for Dad instead of what was cheapest." "We have a right to be involved in these decisions," Gemma said. "Really? Where was that involvement when I was living here for 5 weeks? When I was getting up every 2 hours to check on him? When I was cleaning up his messes and listening to his abuse? You volunteered for that. I was manipulated into it. By both of you." Nathaniel's face was getting redder. "You can't just sell the house without consulting us." "Actually, I can. And I did. Closing is next Friday." "We'll stop it. We'll get an injunction." I laughed. "On what grounds? That I'm acting against Dad's best interests by putting him in the finest care facility in the state. You're bankrupting him. No, I'm spending his money on what he needs instead of hoarding it for what you want." Marlo spoke up quietly. "How much money are we talking about, Michaela?" "Enough to keep Dad comfortable for the rest of his life." "That's not an answer," Nathaniel snapped. "It's the only answer you're getting." Gemma stood up, her hands shaking. "This is about revenge, isn't it? You're punishing us because you're bitter about your life." "My life? You mean the life where I've been the family scapegoat since childhood, where every family crisis became my responsibility while you two lived your perfect suburban dreams. Nobody forced you to stay single and childless, and nobody forced you to be a selfish, manipulative bitch, but here we are," Gemma gasped. Nathaniel stepped forward. "Don't talk to her like that." "Like what? Honestly? You want to know what's honest, Nathaniel? You've been planning to spend Dad's inheritance before he's even dead. Marlo told me about your financial problems. about how you're counting on this money to bail you out. Nathaniel shot a furious look at his wife. You told her about our business? She deserved to know why you were so eager to warehouse Dad in the cheapest place possible, Marlowe said quietly. Shut up, Marlowe. Don't tell your wife to shut up, I said. She's the only one in this family with any integrity left. Integrity? Nathaniel laughed bitterly. You want to talk about integrity? You manipulated a sick old man. I took care of a sick old man while his other children planned his funeral and divided up his assets. You had a realtor look at this house before Dad was even diagnosed. The room went silent. Ellie told me, I continued, your own daughter was disgusted by how you talked about Grandpa like he was already dead. Nathaniel's face went white. We were just being practical. Practical? Right. I picked up the envelope from the mantelpiece. Well, here's some practicality for you. I opened it and pulled out the trust documents. What's that? Gemma asked. The Grahamstone Family Trust. Irrevocable, signed, sealed, and filed with the state. What does that mean? Marlowe asked. It means all of Dad's assets, including the proceeds from the house sale, go into this trust. A trust for what? Nathaniel demanded. The Grahamstone Scholarship Fund, full college scholarships for women over 35 who are returning to school, women who've been overlooked, undervalued, and told they're too old to chase their dreams. The silence was deafening. You're giving away our inheritance to strangers, Gemma whispered. I'm creating something meaningful from Dad's money instead of letting you waste it on vacation homes and credit card debt. You can't do this. I already did. The trust is irrevocable. The money is gone. Forever. Nathaniel lunged forward, but Marlowe grabbed his arm. Don't, she said firmly. She stole our inheritance. She used her legal authority to make decisions about her father's care and assets, Marlowe said. Just like you wanted her to. Not like this. I walked toward the door. You made your choices. You chose to dump Dad on me and disappear. You chose to plan how to spend his money while I changed his diapers. You chose to treat me like the family servant for 38 years. Michaela, wait, Gemma called. We can work this out. There's nothing to work out. Dad is being cared for. His money is being used for something good. And you two get exactly what you contributed to his care. Which is what? Nathaniel snarled. Nothing. I opened the front door and stepped onto the porch. This isn't over, Nathaniel shouted. Yes, it is. I got in my car and drove away, leaving them standing in the empty house that would never be theirs. My phone buzzed with a text from Ellie. I heard yelling. Are you okay? I pulled over and typed back, I'm perfect, sweetheart. Everything is exactly as it should be. I was unpacking boxes in my new apartment when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Ellie standing in the hallway, shifting nervously from foot to foot. Aunt Michaela, it's me. I opened the door and she practically fell into my arms. I'm sorry, she said, her voice muffled against my shoulder. I'm so sorry about what they're saying about you. What are they saying? She pulled back, her eyes red. That you're selfish and vindictive, that you stole Grandpa's money. Mum won't even let me mention your name anymore. And what do you think? I think you're the only one who actually cared about Grandpa as a person instead of a bank account. I led her to my small kitchen and poured 2 glasses of lemonade. The apartment was tiny compared to the family house, but it was mine. Clean, quiet, and free of ghosts. How did you find me? I asked around. Your friend Fatima gave me the address. Ellie looked around the sparse living room. Are you okay, living like this? I'm fine, better than fine, actually. But you gave up everything, the house, the money, all of it. I gave up nothing that was ever really mine. My phone rang. The caller ID showed Sunset Manor. I need to take this, I told Ellie. Ms. Walker, this is Janet from Sunset Manor. I wanted to update you on your father. Is he okay? He's doing wonderfully. He's made friends with several other residents and he's been asking for you. Would you like to visit this weekend? I'll be there Saturday." After I hung up, Ellie was staring at me. "You still visit him?" "Every week, even after everything he did to you." "He's still my father, and he's not the same person he was when his mind was failing." "Mum says you put him in that expensive place to spite us." "Your mum says a lot of things. What matters is that he's safe and happy." Ellie was quiet for a moment. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "The scholarship thing, is it real?" I walked to my desk and pulled out a folder. Inside were applications, letters of recommendation, and thank you notes. "Very real. We've already awarded 3 full scholarships. Here." I handed her a letter. She read it aloud. "Dear Ms. Walker, I can't express how grateful I am for the Graham Stone Scholarship. At 42, I thought it was too late to become a nurse. Your foundation proved me wrong. I start classes next month, and for the first time in years, I have hope for my future." Ellie looked up at me with wide eyes. "This is amazing. There are dozens more like it, women who thought their dreams were over, getting a second chance. And Uncle Nathaniel and Mum don't understand this. They understand it perfectly. They just don't care about anyone but themselves." My phone buzzed with a text. I glanced at it and smiled. "What is it?" Ellie asked. "A woman named Sarah just got accepted to law school. She's 51 and has been working as a secretary for 20 years. The scholarship is covering everything." "That's incredible. Your grandfather's money is changing lives instead of sitting in a bank account waiting for him to die." Ellie was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "I want to help." "Help how?" "With the foundation. I'm good with computers and social media. I could help you reach more women who need scholarships." "What about your parents?" "They don't get to control who I care about." Her voice was stronger now. "And I care about this. About what you're doing. It won't be easy. Your family will be furious. Let them be furious. I'm tired of pretending their behaviour is okay." I hugged her tightly. "You can help, but only if you're sure." "I'm sure." That evening, after Ellie left, I sat on my small balcony with a cup of tea and my laptop. The scholarship applications kept coming, dozens every week. Women who'd been told they were too old, too late, too much trouble. Women like me. My phone rang. Fatima's name appeared on the screen. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "Good, really good." "Any regrets?" I thought about the question seriously. I'd lost my family, my childhood home, and any chance of inheritance. I was living in a studio apartment and working freelance jobs to pay rent. "None," I said. "Not a single one. Even though they'll never forgive you. They never forgave me anyway. At least now I have a reason to be proud of." "The foundation is getting attention. I saw an article in the Herald about your scholarship recipients." "Good attention. Very good. They're calling it revolutionary, targeting older women who've been overlooked by traditional financial aid." I opened my laptop and checked the foundation's email. 47 new applications today. Stories of women who'd sacrificed their dreams for families, who'd been told they were too old to start over, who'd been written off by everyone, including themselves. "Fatima." "Yeah?" "I think I finally understand what power really means." "What's that?" "It's not about getting revenge on people who hurt you. It's about making sure they can't hurt anyone else the same way." "And how does it feel?" I looked out at the city lights, thinking about Dad in his comfortable room at Sunset Manor, about Ellie planning to help with the foundation, about Sarah starting law school at 51. It feels like justice. Good. You deserve it. After we hung up, I opened a new email from a woman named Patricia. She was 39, divorced with 2 kids, dreaming of becoming a teacher. Her application was beautifully written, full of hope and determination. I approved her scholarship with a single click. Somewhere across town, my siblings were probably still raging about their lost inheritance. But here in my small apartment, surrounded by applications from women ready to change their lives, I'd never felt richer. The family that had spent decades making me feel worthless had given me the power to prove my worth in ways they'd never understand. And that was the sweetest victory of all.